But it's interesting to know, if you view things in that symbiotic relationship, if Toyota expects a lot from the suppliers, but they don't help the supplier, then there's no success. So they set high expectations, but then they bring in a lot of support. You get a lot of support from Toyota to learn how to make improvement and how to improve the operation. So there's always a weak point in the total value stream, in the supply chain. Okay? And so the idea is to find that weak point and then go in and do some improvement activities. One of the things I hear suppliers complain about the most, that what suppliers are doing is they're chasing your production wave and you're chasing customer demand. And so this idea that Toyota has called haijunka, leveling or balancing, is important. Toyota's idea is to give the suppliers fair prices. I mean, there's always some discussion about what's fair, but certainly they want the supplier to make a profit. So for example, I've seen companies go to suppliers and they say, you need to have 5S. They'll tell the supplier, you have to do 5S. And as Dr. Farrell pointed out, suppliers sometimes say, well, I don't understand. What's the purpose? What's the point? And of course, in that case, usually the OEM says, well, it's lean, you just have to do 5S. You don't say, well, we need to have visual standards so that we can understand when a problem exists. That's really the point. If we don't understand where our problems are, then we can't help you to solve the problems. So 5S is not about cleaning up the factory, by the way. I heard somebody say that the other day, that 5S is about cleaning the factory. It is not about cleaning the factory. A clean factory is an outcome, but the purpose is to help you find problems and see where the problems are. The most important thing of all is, do you know where the problems are? If you're not able to walk through your operations and know right now where's the problem, then that's your problem. That's the first thing you should start with. And the same thing with suppliers. Interesting thing about us, people, human nature. Maybe they have the same saying in Brazil, I'm not sure. But we say you can't see the forest for the trees. You know that one? So what that means is you're in the middle of the forest, but you can't tell it's a forest because there's too many trees, just a bunch of trees. But if you step back from that, then you can see those trees are really a forest. And the same thing sometimes for suppliers or for our companies. We're so busy working on the issues every day that we don't really know, or we don't stop and ask, what are the problems? What do we need? Everybody thinks that automating a process is the answer for cost reduction. I'm wondering, maybe I can see some faces here a little bit too young, but how many of you are part of manufacturing in the 80s? And automation was all the craze in the United States in the 80s. I remember a headline said, automate or emigrate. It means you better automate your factory or get out. Right? Japan was all automated. And then I went to Toyota, and I went into the first facility at Toyota, and I looked around and I thought, what is this? This is old stuff, old machinery, nothing new, nothing fancy. I was quite disappointed. So where's all that high-tech automation stuff? So we do the same thing. We go to the suppliers and we tell them, you can reduce your cost by automating. No, you don't. You don't reduce cost by automating. You maybe increase cost by automating, truthfully. In terms of what we're trying to achieve, there really isn't any clear understanding of impossibility. I mean, sometimes even I'm shocked still. I read articles at Toyota that just a few years ago, for example, they reduced the cost of an engine casting for a Camry by 50%. 50%. This wasn't a new product. This was a product that had been around for 20 years. And they were able to do some things and reduce the cost by 50%. Now, up front, if you'd have asked me, can we reduce the cost of this casting by 50%? I might have said, it's impossible. And that's the normal human reaction. now that I go around the world, one of the things I hear in Russia, I hear this almost every country I go in, people say, well, you don't understand this situation, you don't understand this problem, you don't understand the Russian mind, you don't understand the difficulties, you don't understand all these things. And as I said, Toyota's philosophy is simple. Okay, the fact is the fact. We're only 5% of their business. Maybe they're not willing to do things because we're just a small part of the business. Doesn't change the fact that we need that supplier to help. So how do we engage suppliers? How do we engage employees? I mean, people ask me all the time, how do you engage employees to be part of the lean effort? I ask a simple question back. How do you not engage employees? How do you not help this person understand? You see, the problem is this. This is an American acronym. We call it WIFM. What's in it for me? So if you're not engaging a supplier, you're not helping the supplier understand what's in it for them. If you're going into a supplier, you're just a small part of their business and you're demanding that they take care of you, they're going to say, we don't need you. Right? You're not helping them to understand that there's opportunity for them, perhaps, if they can learn this. So you can go in and teach them. Toyota teaches people that are not their suppliers. They're not suppliers to Toyota, but they're teaching them these ideas. So they're going into any supplier. They don't go into suppliers and say, you will do this or else. They go in and they say, let us help you see where this can improve your operation. So you have to go back to the original statement that I made this morning, that I've heard repeated, and you have to understand the need. Why do they need it? It's kind of arrogant for us to go into suppliers and say, you need to be lean. Don't go to your suppliers and say, you need to be lean. Go into your suppliers and say, what do you need? What do you need to be more successful? How can you grow your business? And then ask, how can we help? Do you ask your suppliers that? So definitely educating American suppliers was a challenge for Toyota. It still is a challenge for Toyota. And, creating those long-term relationships and building mutual trust is difficult. Okay? So developing those relationships has been a long process, and it's still not finished. It'll never be finished.